Meanwhile, Canada's Prime Minister said a nuclear deal with India could be ready in just a few weeks. It is widely expected to be signed during his India visit this week. Now, speaking to NDTV's Nidhi Razdan, Stephen Harper also said his government is not worried about the safety of India's nuclear installations, a reason cited by the opposition and the Canadian media for not signing a nuclear agreement. The deal with Canada is crucial because it has the largest uranium reserves.
The other big story that's come out of your visit has been the non-signing of a civil nuclear deal, because there were a lot of expectations that when you came here, we'd have a civil nuclear deal in place. Are there any hurdles? Why is it taking so long?
Well, we have signed on this trip an important agreement on energy cooperation, on research and development in clean energy and in the energy field. On energy, as you know, Canada, we have a perfect synergy here. Canada is a country of vast energy resources with a relatively small market. India is a country with a large and growing market and with a deficiency of energy resources. We're anxious to conclude this, but there is some work to be done.
Are there hurdles or are there technical issues?
I don't think there's anything that can't be resolved. In fact, Prime Minister Singh and I agreed that we will take a close examination over the next few weeks at what the remaining hurdles are and endeavor as a high priority to get them resolved.
Do you feel in a sense that you missed the bus, in the sense, you know, that the French and the Russians and the Americans have already had a head start as far as civil nuclear business with India is concerned, and here's Canada with...
We're obviously anxious to close that gap. At the same time, this was complicated, obviously, by the early history of Canada-India nuclear relations. We're anxious to close that gap, and as I say, Canada has comparative strengths in this field that some other countries don't have, in particular being the largest uranium producer in the world.
So you think it would take just a few more weeks to iron it out?
I would hope so. It's a very high priority for our government to get this done, and I think the same thing is true on the Indian side.
Okay, so we could see a civil nuclear deal in a few weeks. But Mr. Prime Minister, let me ask you, in the Canadian press before your visit, there was a lot being written about the safety of India's nuclear installations, and I think particularly after the heightened alert in recent days as a result of certain intelligence inputs that the Home Ministry had. Do you share those concerns at all about the safety of India's nuclear installations? And the press in your country has been arguing that's one reason not to have a civil nuclear deal with India.
Well, some in our opposition have been arguing that. I think that's a view, as I say, a view that's a throwback to the 1970s. There is no safer place in the emerging world than India. Our major allies, as you have already said, have signed nuclear cooperation agreements with India. Canada facilitated India's deal with the Americans in the Nuclear Suppliers Group, and so we're not going to let fears and concerns from 2 generations ago interfere with the future nuclear cooperation that I think is vital to both our countries.
And the fears about today's security scenario don't concern you?
I think, as I said yesterday, that it's certainly clear it's good enough for our allies, it's good enough.